Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hey, happy Saturday, happy weekend. How's it going? Man, couldn't be better here. I start out with weather, so I'm going to start with weather. I usually do. My nose is shiny. 1 second. I think I have sunscreen on still. Anyways, how's it going? Yeah, I'm going to start with weather. Man, I'm happy because the weather has been surprisingly fantastic here in Minnesota. We've had just like this long streak of just humidity and heat, and today, the last couple of days, the humidity has dropped. It's like desert levels around here, and it's so awesome because it's, it can be 75, 80 degrees, and it actually feels nice, and it cools off really nice at night. So anyways, yeah, it's been super nice here. Hopefully it's nice where you're at. It's still super dry. We need rain. All across the U.S., I think we need rain. I think Canada is too. We're like moderately in a drought right now. So kind of crazy. We could use some rain, but I welcome this drier weather and not so much humidity. So how's everyone doing? What are you guys working on? What can I help with? I know that there's been a lot of chatter in Discord talking about different things, needing help with different things. I've been trying to step in and help when I can. Hype Train. All right. Thank you so much. I'll get to that in 1 second. But yeah, Hype Train. I love it. But there's been a lot of chatter about help with different types of things. It's all over the place. Docker, Kubernetes, Rancher, Authelia, containers, storage, networking. It's all over. So I love it. Bring your questions. If you have a question for me that you want to ask and you want me to answer live, I'll definitely do it. If not, you're welcome just to sit and chat and listen as well. So what have you guys been working on too? I say this every time in all of my streams that I get largely inspired by you guys and what you're working on, and I build off ideas, or you guys spark new ideas that either for a video or a project or both. I like it when it's both because then it's 2 for 1 for me. But a lot of times it's not both, just because I don't have the time or bandwidth to make a video on everything I do. It's just the things that are a little bit bigger. I try to. So yeah, that's, as you guys know, you probably saw this morning, I've been working on this thing, it's kind of a thing, but it is a thing. But I don't want to take any real credit for the actual site itself, but I've been working on this thing called LittleLink Server, which is, I don't want to say a wrapper, but basically I containerized an existing website called LittleLink that helps you basically create a landing page for all of your social media links, or any links you want, really. And it's supposed to be kind of like Linktree-esque or Mini-Link or any of those sites now that are popping up everywhere that help you aggregate all your social links into one site. And I think they all stemmed from Instagram, really, because people would say on Instagram, links in the profile or links in bio. And that link in bio was the one link you could put in Instagram. And so a lot of other social networks have followed that same cue, not to say that they were the first, but most of them allow you to have one link. And so that's how I think a lot of this was born. Anyways, so this past week I've been going at it, trying to get this site containerized so that you, if you decide to use it or decide to play around with it, don't have to know how to edit HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because that's the goal I wanted for this container. How can you pass in variables to this container and get a fully configured website, like a social profile website, without modifying anything? And so I hinted at it last week, and I finally figured it out and got it up and going. So anyways, that's kind of what I've been working on. I'd love to know what you guys were working on too. I'm sure there's tons of awesome projects, and I'm going to leave this stream with lots of ideas. But real quick, let me get into follows and subs and bits if there were. Thank you so much. There's lots of activity here at the beginning, so let me get caught up before we dive right in. First of all, who was first? It was Mafney, and at the same time, Mafney resubbed Tier 1 10 month streak. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You're always first. Roughly always first, but I'll go with always first. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the resub. You're always usually first, and you're resubbing all the time, so I appreciate it. And yeah, so thank you, Mafney. For Gathers, thanks for the follow, appreciate it, welcome. Real quick, before right around when the stream started, I'll call this out just in case they're still here, but 4HMZA, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Empirix, thanks for the follow, and welcome, appreciate it, thank you. I don't know if that's French, but I'm gonna pronounce it as if it's not French. It's Senpai Noodle. Hey, it's Senpai Noodle. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. How you doing? Tinkerfu, thanks for the resub. Tinkerfu, hi everyone. Greetings from Switzerland. Good to see you again. Tinkerfu, tier 1, 9 months. Thank you so much for the continued support. Anyblast, thanks for the resub. Prime sub, 6 month. Thanks so much, Anyblast. How you doing? Brahmi, that's what I'm going with. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Second Wonders, I like it. Second Wonders, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And Risha V Silhouette. Oh, I got it. Rishav Silhouette, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Tim, there's vowels and numbers and consonants in there and words. Sorry, can't read. I'm going with Tim Cabs. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. If you can spell that out phonetically, I'd love to pronounce it properly. But thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And Wahil, thanks for the sub, Prime sub. Thank you so much. Thanks for spending your Prime sub on me. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. So that was just a couple of minutes ago. Hype train still going. Hype train in the intro. Thank you so much. So anyways, back to what I was saying. Like I've been working on a ton of stuff. I would love to know what you guys were working on. I think there were folks who were also asking in Discord this morning, hey, can I ask you some questions in stream? Absolutely. Yeah, you don't even need to pre-ask. You can just ask during the stream. But I appreciate the pre-ask in Discord because that was fantastic. I think that was my first pre-ask. I liked it. But let's see here. We already know who was first. Don't tell me I can't scroll up higher than this. Oh, Mathne. Oh, this is the beginning. This thing's in the way. Things seem a little bit different. Let me move this chat window. That looks a little bit better. I have to do something weird to get this chat window to appear on stream. So there we go. That looks a little bit better. My OCD is really kicking in. Like my front-end developer is kicking in. Like, is my padding right? Is my margin right? It it's hard to tell from here. I'm going to say good enough from here. But if it was front-end code, I'd be all over that. Let's see. So follows and resubs. Let's see. Mr. Rimp 468. Construction for 40 years. Did you get your opening figured out? LOL. Finally got the bandwidth to watch live. Yay. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Rimp, construction for 40 years. Did you get my opening figured out? Hopefully it is figured out. And I'm glad you have the bandwidth to watch live. I know that last week you guys had mentioned possibly, we had some ideas. We were talking about how can we make this more accessible to more people, possibly on mobile device or with low bandwidth. I had some ideas. I didn't get a chance to implement them, but I will for next stream. I have that as a note. I have a laundry list of stuff I'm going to do after streaming tonight to prepare for next week, and that's on the list. Is how can I make this more accessible to more people, and at the same time be able to record that stream. So that I can upload it later. So, but working on it. But I'm glad you have the bandwidth. Sorry if it's my fault. It's probably my fault. Chicano, what are you working on? Let's see. Multiple user RDP for one desktop. I like it. I know there are hacks. You can do this. There are definitely hacks. I know you can. I assume that's what it is. Because if it's if you're using Windows Server and you have terminal service licenses, it doesn't take hacks. If you're using a Windows desktop, then there are hacks. But yeah, hopefully you get it going. Let me know how you get multiple sessions. I'm sure there are ways around it because I've heard from people that it's possible. Second Wonders, I was working on Athalia with traffic. Yeah, all right. You're pretty far down the pipe then. I like it. Pretty far down the funnel of containerization then if you are, because that means you have containerization, then you have another service, then you have certificates in front of it, and now you want to put an auth proxy in front of it. Pretty awesome. After 2 days of working, maybe I spoke too soon. I got it finally fixed, and from watching your videos, thanks a lot. Hey, no problem. Hopefully it's working okay. I know we talked a little bit in Discord too. Sorry if I was kind of vague, but I was working on getting this video out and fixing up a few things. But I'm glad you got it. I think it ended up being your config. But you were exactly right when you were talking about earlier in Discord about, hey, shouldn't I just be able to add labels? And that's exactly right. If you're running a container on the same container that Athalia is on, all you need to do is add labels to that, and then it'll just get picked up, and Athalia will be the auth proxy in between for you. So glad you got that figured out. It's pretty far down the funnel, so congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Hopefully I'm not talking too loud. I think I'm peaking a little bit in my audio. Ticano, 2 users. Other than that, just been tinkering with SDR still. Last night we had an we had HSD, a super bad storm, was able to pick up NOAA, so the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, I think, weather broadcast station to hear the warnings and the current wind speed. We were up to gusts of 70 miles per hour. Wow, that is crazy. That's pretty fast. That's pretty fast. Keep those away from me. Keep those in the Southwest, where I think you are. But man, glad you're safe, and that's pretty awesome you were able to pick that up and hear it over the radio. That's pretty awesome. Mr. Rimp, finishing up SSL on everything. Awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That once you get there, I think Authelia might be next for you. You're going to say certificates aren't enough and TLS aren't enough. I need auth proxy in front of it now too. But awesome. Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. Once you get that done, so that means you have a pretty good foundation too, like I talked about earlier. You may or may not be running things in containers. You have DNS probably set up internally. You have DNS configured probably externally if you're hosting that externally, and you're getting certificates working. So that's pretty awesome. Awesome. Congratulations on securing those sites and transferring things over TLS. Tim, I'm going to go with Tim. Tim K. That's what I'm going to go with. Hey, Tim K. How's it going? Takano, we had a huge thunderstorms and rain last night. Nice. Yeah, I think you're in the Southwest. I think, I don't want to call out the state. I remember it. I won't even say what it starts with. I don't want to give out your information, but pretty awesome that you got some rain. I don't think you get rain much, so that might be a good thing. Well, there you go. Here in AZ, Arizona. I was going to say starts with an A, and then I was like, how many states are in the Southwest that start with A? So maybe I shouldn't say it. You said Arizona. Okay. That's a good thing, right? Getting rain in Arizona, I think that's a good thing. I think it is. Maybe not too much. You don't want too much because then you have like flash flooding and stuff like that, I think. HomeLab News, Stream Hype. How's it going, man? How you doing? Tim K, working on a new Rancher cluster build. Nice. I think a lot of people are doing that too. It's funny that has sprung up yet again. When I first created some content around it and talked about it, there was this wave, and then later on there was like another wave of it, and now I feel like there's yet another wave of this happening. And I don't know if people are like did it before and that now they're doing it again for real like I do. I build things 2, 3, 4 times and I break them every time, and then I'm like, okay, this one's for real. I don't know if people are just rebuilding their clusters again or trying something new or doing it on K3S versus single node or something else. But it's awesome. So congratulations. Hopefully you get it working. It can be, it can be challenging. I'm not going to lie. It can be challenging. But if you stick it out, and kind of figure it out, you'll learn a ton along the way, and at the same time you'll get some services running and possibly an HA or higher availability, I should say, than running one. HomeLab New, Debian 11 is out. Hooray! Yeah, nice. Burry 097, nice shirt, bro. Thank you. I actually just picked it up last night. It was a spur of the moment buy. I normally don't do spur of the moment buys. I'll go all out. I'll tell the story. It'll take 30 seconds. But I was returning something for Amazon last night, and we had to stop into Kohl's, and Kohl's has an Amazon pickup. They totally got me. And so when you return something to Kohl's, they'll give you this coupon or Kohl's Cash or something. And they'll give you this coupon, and usually I'm like, yeah, I don't need anything, and I just walk right out. So, but this time it was 25% off, and I was like, oh, okay. For some reason, 25% off was, I think, the threshold of where I'll consider buying something. And then I was like, oh, I could use, an okay shirt. And we were right by like athletic stuff on the way out. I was like, hey, that's a sweet Nike shirt. I kind of like the retro look of it. And then before you know it, I tried it on right in the aisle, and I was like, cool, I'll buy this. Well, it turns out that coupon didn't even apply to this, so I paid full price. But anyways, long story short, I just picked it up last night. Like, I literally just took the tags off about 1 hour ago before I put it on. I was doing some stuff outside and around the house, so I didn't have the shirt on. But anyways, thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate it, too. I like it. Good fit, good color. I like the design. I like this whole retro and this motion look. Anyways, they have a blue one too, and I've been thinking about this morning, and I think I'm going to go get the blue one. Anyways, that's enough about my shirt. But thank you. Second Wonders was working on Authelia with traffic, got everything working except SMTP and MySQL. Need to have a MariaDB and a PHP MyAdmin and Docker Compose. Yeah. So Yeah, so keep in mind when you're doing, that gets kind of complicated. I see what you're doing. So you have Authelia, your auth proxy, and then you have traffic, your reverse proxy serving out SSL, and then you want to put that in front of, I assume, MariaDB, not necessarily MariaDB directly, but maybe PHP MyAdmin. You'll have to keep in mind the types of certificates that can protect that and the types of ports that traffic will support. Like most people use, I don't want to say most people, but I personally have used traffic mostly as a reverse proxy. So for HTTP traffic, port 80 and 443, the protocol HTTP, it is also a TCP and UDP load balancer. So if you're going down that path of protecting more services or putting them behind traffic as a load balancer, you might have to do a little bit more configuration. But yeah, let me know how that goes. Because sounds awesome. That's what we all want, right? Connect to services securely. Will 1219, I've only recently come across your YouTube channel and videos, but I recently pivoted from a decade-plus career as a truck driver to become an IT professional, and your videos helped a ton early on. Hey, congratulations. That is quite the pivot, Will. Congratulations. So you've already pivoted, so I'm going to say congratulations, even if I'm making assumptions, but that's pretty awesome. I'm glad I was able to help. Hopefully my videos are approachable. I keep it pretty, I try to keep it pretty casual. I'm a pretty casual person and a pretty easygoing person. Hopefully they're approachable and casual, and hopefully you learn something. And congratulations, decade plus as a truck driver to become an IT professional. That is a huge leap, and hats off to you for making that leap and making that decision, and trusting in yourself, because that's a huge risk. If you think about it, I mean, you go from a profession where you're making money to maybe possibly doing something else where you might not even get a job. So hats off to you. Congratulations, Will. That's awesome. Let me know if I can help, or let me know if there are gaps. I know that some of my stuff isn't truly for the beginner, but if you're just getting started in IT and they've been helping you, that's awesome. That is awesome. So good for you, man. Appreciate it. I'm making assumptions about your name, W. Hill. And I was pronouncing all as one. Will, like cool whip. Sorry. Anyways, Brian Weaver, hi and hello. How's it going? How you doing, Brian? Daisy, we talk about the advantages of LittleLink being written in React. Yeah, we just talked about that. It's almost as if I planted you here. No, you asked this in Discord. 1 second. So the advantages, just real quick. So LittleLink is just HTML and CSS. And I think that Seth, the creator of LittleLink, did this just because it's a lot easier to manage. If you just edit some HTML, you can look at the HTML and you see like a link to Twitch, and you just modify that link to Twitch to your own link, and it just works. It didn't have any JavaScript. I had to add some JavaScript, and I had to add some other things in order for it to work. And so with LittleLink, it's just HTML and CSS, and it's pretty efficient, I guess you should say. Performance is not a word, but people use it all the time. But some people call me out sometimes when I say performant. So it's really efficient. It's really good at what it does, and it doesn't even need JavaScript to run. I needed some JavaScript, and I was kind of at this tipping scale of, okay, how far do I go changing this existing open source project before I rewrite it? And I didn't want to rewrite it because I wanted to kind of carry this torch. I wanted to carry this torch from that project to my project and say, yes, I use some of this stuff. I might do some better integrations on forking later on. But anyways, long story short, when would you use React, I guess, is what it boils down to, and not necessarily for LittleLink specifically. So React.js is a really good front-end Vue library. I'll just say that because it's not a full-fledged framework. It's just a Vue library. It gives you easy ways to render things in a browser. It gives you lifecycle hooks. It gives you a ton of stuff. But with that comes some weight or some bulk that you may or may not use. So if you're building a large-scale application or even a medium-scale application like React or Vue or Angular, it is a good choice. You get either a full-fledged framework, or you start to build, really robust applications, or you have the option to. Sometimes that is I don't want to say a non-starter, but that can be, a challenge on a really small project, something like this thing called LittleLink, which is literally probably 60 lines of HTML, probably more with comments. And the same for CSS. There's probably 100, 200 lines of CSS. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. There probably more, where you don't need something as big or as quote unquote complicated as React. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but what it boils down to is that the project is small enough to where, bringing in React would bring in some unnecessary complexity if you weren't familiar with React. It also creates, some complexity with your build. When you write a React application, you have to transpile it. It's a fancy word for converting your JavaScript into a version of JavaScript that's both efficient and understandable by web browsers across all browsers. And so you have to bring in all these additional tools. Now, React does a really good job at giving you those tools, but it introduces some complexity. So long story short, this project was small enough that I thought, like, okay, if I wanted to carry this torch from this project to my project and continue this thread of keeping it simple, I'm not going to rewrite it in React, even though I told myself like 3 or 4 times, like I could do this in probably 15 minutes. I bit the bullet and did it the harder way for me, which is to not use React and modify everything rather than use React and rewrite the whole thing. Anyways, that's a lot about that. I don't know if I answered your question, but don't get me wrong. Like I write React all day long. It's a majority of what I do is write React and React Native stuff. I do a ton of front-end development, so I love it. And even for small stuff, I do it. I choose it right away because I understand the tooling, understand a lot about it. But for this, like I said, I didn't want to rewrite it. And so I just kind of took what was there and modified it and made it available inside of a container. So anyways, hopefully I answered your question, DZ. Let me know if not. And if you need examples of really small React applications, I got plenty in my GitHub that I actually built and shared and made them open source too. Sorry, my nose is a little stuffed up. 1 second. Okay, thinking better. Janoke, is there an easy way to remove node? Is there an easy way to remove a node from Proxmox cluster without question mark? Without what? Without the world exploding? Yeah, there is. There is. I've done it before, and it's you'll have to Google it. And I think Proxmox even has a wiki page on it, or it's in their forums. And what it boils down to is stopping some services, running a command to remove that node, and then starting those services back up. And that's what it boils down to. There is a risk involved with it, but I've done it 2 or 3 times, and I've never had any problems. That's not to say you won't. But it is easy. I don't know how easy you're thinking. It's not as easy as doing it from the GUI or the web page, but it is easy as running a couple of commands. It's shut down the old one, run a command to stop the services for quorum for the election leader, and then I think run another command to remove that node, start it back up, and it'll be like it was never there. So give that a shot. Let me know. And if you can't find that link, ping me, Janoke, and I'll ping you in Discord or wherever you ping me. I'll follow. I'll answer back. Chubakawa. I always get that wrong. Chubakawa. Hey, thanks for the Prime sub. 4 months, 3 month streak. Thanks so much. Hello, how's it going? Chubakawa. I got to get that right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. How are you doing? Tim K, I have a problem with Cert Manager and Rancher, some webhook errors. I've seen those before too. I've seen that before, and I can't remember. There's an order of operations. So if you see that webhook error, I've seen it. It's like when you try to install Rancher for the first time, and it might even be by Helm, you'll get some webhook errors, and that usually means that some services aren't fully running yet. Oh, I'm almost there. I almost remember it. I don't remember. In my documentation, I think if you're following my install Rancher on an existing Kubernetes cluster, I think it's in there, in that documentation where it might not mention that webhook problem specifically, but that's the result of not doing something in order. So take a look at that or let me know. Ping me in Discord and I'll find it. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It's either skipping a step or not waiting long enough It's not waiting long enough before you run that step. And I think I say in a comment, like, hey, make sure that something is running and run this command to make sure it's running before you run this, because you'll run into the problem you're running into. Sorry, so vague. I understand what's going on, but I don't remember what it is to fix it, but that's in the documentation. ISO, today I'm refactoring some old code to improve security, efficiency, compatibility of some business app. Gotta love tech debt, yeah. ISO, I hear you, man. I hear you. I actually enjoy refactoring code a lot because you learn so much between the first time you do it and the time you're doing it later on. I actually really enjoy refactoring because at least with me, in the beginning when I'm figuring stuff out, a lot of times it's just like, okay, make it work, make it a little bit better, make it not suck. And then after that, you're kind of like, okay, next feature, next fix, next whatever. And I that's kind of how I work. I enjoy like going back to an old project that I haven't worked on, in a couple of months or even a year and saying, the heck was I thinking? And, refactor that with either a new pattern or new features to make it work a little bit better. But I totally agree. Sometimes it can suck. Sometimes it can suck, especially if you don't have good tests to test the output. That's when you can get into trouble, and depending on how complex the thing is. If you don't have a lot of tests and you're refactoring, that kind of stinks because you're like, I don't have a way to even know that this is working unless I totally like run the app and test it myself manually. Hey, real quick, Duluk. Hey, thanks for the Prime sub. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Pexabot team. Tim, great show. How much space do you use to record and stream? Ever thought about getting a dedicated space? How is it streaming where the family lives? Are there any challenges? Yeah, good. A lot of good questions. Just totally meta stuff. I like it. I like it. Thank you. So how much space do you use to record and stream? Ooh. Recording depends. I think this past video, I think this project was probably took up 12, 13 gigs. It was a small one in comparison. The one before that was around 22, 24 gigs. And bigger ones were like HomeLab tour stuff where I have tons of B-roll. Can be 30 to 40 gigs. When I used to record in 4K, it was even bigger. I actually stopped in 4K only because it was just too much space. I was going to outgrow stuff for the small benefit of being able to have it on look sharp on 4K. So, anyways, I would be comfortable saying around 20 to 30 gigs per project. So around every week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm using 20 to 30 gigs in my storage, in my NAS. Hey, Random Cake 4, thanks. Or Random Cake, how did I get 4? Random Cake 2, thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it. Prime, or not even Prime, Tier 1, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So Pexabot, 20 to 30 gigs per project that I do. My streaming, I use 0. For my streaming, on Twitch here, I just stream it directly to Twitch. They keep it for, 60, 90 days, something. But what I usually do is directly export it then to YouTube to my other channel for an archive, and then make that available a couple days later. So that uses 0, but that might change here in a little bit, depending on bandwidth stuff we were talking about earlier. And then efficiency, complex, and then dedicated space. Ever thought about getting a dedicated space? Yeah, this kind of is it. If you mean somewhere outside of my house, no, I've never considered it. Like I've dreamed about it, like, oh, that would be cool. But the only place I would want it to be if it were outside of my house would be like, above my garage or somewhere still on my property. Because I don't want to commute somewhere else to create my content. A lot of my stuff is done just in time, because I have a full-time job. Like this is a side hustle. No, this is my hobby. Anytime I can reduce like, commute time or anything like that is welcomed. Dedicated space would be pretty cool, but if I were, it would be either add on to this house or if we ever buy another house, dedicated space within that house to do that same thing. This office is kind of my dedicated space for streaming and working from home, which I'm doing right now. So this is kind of it. And then how is streaming where family lives? Are there any challenges? I mean, not outside of your normal challenges. I mean, the challenges that we've all faced during this pandemic. Noises when you don't want them, pets barking, dogs barking, people talking. I mean, it's all the same things you would go through on a Zoom call if you're working remote right now. But no, not really. I mean, it's pretty okay. You just work around it. My wife is super awesome about everything, but especially about streaming and recording and stuff like that. We've just figured it out. I don't have a recording light out there, but she knows. I'll tell her ahead of time, hey, I'm going to record something. I'm just going to close the store, and a couple hours later I'm done. So it's totally fine. But yeah, good questions. I mean, your mileage may vary. If you got kids and a small house, it might vary for sure. But I think everybody's pretty now with everybody doing video calls all the time. People are pretty acceptable and accepting of things that one would consider wrong or additional noises or dog barking. Like, people are okay with that. I think we've been desensitized to that over the last year, with more people streaming and more surprises like coming up while you're on a call. Tinkerfoo, we're still setting up the foundation for my HomeLab, actually trying to understand the relation between MetalLB, traffic, and how they play together. Yeah, good question. So MetalLB, I'll say this. So MetalLB is a load balancer, and it's used, think of that like a cloud load balancer. Now, this might be super confusing to you, but if you're in the cloud and you're running Kubernetes, that cloud provider is going to give you a load balancer, and that's how you get in and out of Kubernetes on the edge. That's how you get out well, maybe not out, but that's definitely how traffic comes in to Kubernetes. And so when you self-host Kubernetes, if you run it, the term is bare metal, but it's not technically bare metal. Anyways, if you run Kubernetes on your own, you don't have a load balancer, most likely. I mean, maybe you do, but I don't have thousands of dollars to have like a load balancer like they do in the cloud. So MetalLB kind of acts like that load balancer. And what it does is it gives you a way to allow incoming traffic inside of Kubernetes. Now, if you're doing Kubernetes with single node, you can cheat and you can do node port, and you can totally side load the whole entire ingress, and you can come from the side and do node ports or host port on that host, either one. You only have one node, one host. But if you have multiple, you need them to come in through the load balancer so that Kubernetes can decide, where does that pod live and where should I send that traffic? And so that's what MetalLB does, acts like a load balancer. Think of it like that. Once you instantiate MetalLB, it'll grab an IP address and says, hey, I'm now your quote unquote kind of your public IP for how you get into Kubernetes. Traffic is then can be a load balancer or your reverse proxy inside of there. So once it comes through that MetalLB, then traffic can take over and be your load balancer within there, or I use it for reverse proxy only, but then route that traffic to that pod that needs it, which is super nice for things like web traffic. So you can terminate all your SSL on traffic, and then it will decrypt and send it to the pod that is being requested. So I don't know if I explained that well, but let me know. It's kind of confusing, but they work hand in hand. And now, like, even with traffic too, you could almost do it without MetalLB, but I haven't gone down that path yet. I actually enjoy the simplicity of MetalLB. Okay, let's see. Brian Weber, how about LittleLink in a Proxmox container? Oh, an LXC container. I didn't think of that. Most of I built it for Proxmox. I built it for Docker. I've never built an LXC container. It's funny, someone just tried it on a Pi Zero, and they were like, hey, it doesn't work. And like 10 seconds later, I pushed up a fix to have it run on ARMv6 and ARMv7, and now it works. So that's not to say that it's going to be that easy for LXC, but let me look. If I can do that and I can make it work, yeah, I'm all for it. I've never built an LXC container. If it's another additional flag within my build process, I'll totally do it. But if I have to build kind of a one-off whole entire build just for this, I may or may not. It depends on how easy it is. It's like development in general. But yeah, good question, Brian Weber. I'll take a look. Take me nil. I've upgraded HomeLab New EX 3300 and R720 server. Wow, quite the upgrade there. I don't know what you're going from, but but that's a pretty awesome system you got going there. Tim K. That is for my ham radio call, Tim. LOL. Okay. Tinkerfu R720, very nice. I have 2 of them. Yeah, super nice. They're super popular. Risha. I'm going with Rishab Silhouette. Techno Tim, hey, I'm doing a project where I take a plain text sentence database and pass through encryption scheme and perform sentiment analysis onto the encrypt text, keeping its privacy intact, and classify it using various supervised classifiers. Although I need help with coding using Python. Can anyone help me with that? Whoa, geez, there's a lot going on there. I understand everything you were talking about, but I don't know a ton of Python. I've only written, I've probably written, I don't know, 1,000 lines of Python. I have a small project I wrote in Python that may or may not work okay. But I wish I could help you. Like, I understand what you're trying to do. I kind of get lost on the encryption scheme and perform sentiment analysis. I understand sentiment analysis onto the encrypted text, keeping its privacy intact. I get what you're doing. Tell me what your problem is. If it's my problem is I don't know how to write Python. Ooh, Network Chuck. I think Network. Yeah. Speaking of Python, I'll call it out. I think I saw that in my subscription feed that Network Chuck just wrote something on, or released a video on. You need to learn Python right now. So if it's Python, hey, go and check his video because he probably knows a lot more Python than I do. I mean, I've written some. Like I said, I've written probably 1,000 lines, but that's about it. And if you need an intro to that, that's going to be your best bet. The name lacks creativity. Love it. Love it. Techno Tim, been working on procrastinating. Nice. Me too. How's it going for you? It's going pretty okay for me. The rubber always meets the road for me on Saturday. That's the day I usually have to decide, like, how much more can I procrastinate on getting my video out? No, I'm kidding. I work on it pretty hard and diligently, and I always try to make sure it's out on a Saturday, either 1 or 2, 3 at the most. Abba Reaper, good enough. No one's viewing in IE. Yeah, I hear you. I wish IE would just die. It just will not die. IE, Internet Explorer, will not die, and it just needs to. It just needs to. I'm to the point now where it's just like I just don't even. I don't know. I want to be a good web developer, and support every type of browser, but IE stuff, the hacks you have to do sometimes are just kind of crazy. A lot of times libraries will help you out with that, but then all the shims you have to put in for a library take up space, and now everyone pays that cost who visits your site because you have so many fixes in place for a very specific library or browser. Anyways, I'm so glad that Edge is now Chromium, so that's good. That's good news. Let's see. Take me nil. Tikafu, yeah, so far it's good. I'm able to turn down the fans a bit. Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about how to turn down those fans. I think it's pretty awesome. HomeLab new. Theoretically, it would be possible to rebroadcast to multiple channels at separate qualities. Oh, I like where you're going. Yeah, it would be. Absolutely, it would be. It would be. If I had a RTMP, I think it is, RSTMP, I don't remember the protocol, server where it split it up and I could send it to 5 channels, 1 at each bit rate. It would totally be splitting up my audience, but I like it. HomeLab new, clunky, but it might work. No, 100%. I could see it working. Yeah, totally. 7-1 DSL, not your fault. I live in Colorado mountains. Yeah, Mr. Rimp, I apologize. I have something coming though. I think I am going to make the adjustment. So my live stream will do a 720p 30 at a 3500 kilobits per second. But then I'll still record in 1080p 60. So then when I upload later to my YouTube archive, it still looks pretty crisp, but the live stream will use less bandwidth and it'll be better for people. And then watch, Twitch will just give me transcoding options every time I do that too. And it's like, okay, what's the point? Abba Reaper was also just running through that video the last few nights, been converting some legal Nginx apps over to containers too. Nice. Yeah, I love containerizing stuff, especially, well, stuff that wasn't before is kind of tough, but it's awesome once you get it, because then you can reproduce that app anywhere. You can spin it up anywhere you want. No, it's all good. Thank you. Takano, going to try to get a better NOAA satellite image tonight. There's 4 passes over my area, so I have the best shot today. Nice. Yeah, lots of flash flooding. Like neighborhoods we live in has no street draining other than this small park and an intersection right outside known to flood a lot. If it rains strong enough, the smaller cars can't get through there. Yeah, that's what I always hear about Southwest is like too much rain is not good because then you have flash flooding. PC Geek, what's up? What's going on, man? How you doing? Tim K, I build and break my clusters to try new technologies. I now have 3 Proxmox clusters to build this better. 3 clusters or 3 nodes in your cluster. Oh man, but I hear you. I hear you. But about the 3rd or 4th time, that's when I'm kind of like, okay, now I'm going to do it for real. Like if I'm going to keep something in my environment, I will totally break and trash stuff. But if I'm going to keep it around, then I'm like, okay, like I need to do it for real at some point and keep it, operationalize it and keep it stable. I mean, not that you always need to, but a lot of times, like for some of the stuff I run, some things need to be stable. Other things, not so much. HomeLab new, tis Tim, you got retailed. You of all people should know better. I totally did. Yeah, anyways, going back to that whole coupon story, I told my wife too, I'm like, this is how they get you, watch. And then I was like, oh, 25% off. Yeah, I'll totally do this. And when we were in line, I was reading through all the exceptions. I mean, the exception thing was this long on a coupon this big. I'm like, I don't see Nike stuff on here. And then they were like, yeah, this doesn't apply. Like any branded merchandise isn't included. I'm like, isn't that like this whole entire store? Anyways, I didn't put up a big argument because I like the shirt and I was like, what the heck? Like, why not? It's like I would have saved $5. PC Geek, I had a job interview yesterday for IT help desk support. I feel like I nailed it. I should hear back next week. Nice, man. I've been hearing about it in Discord. I hope you get it. I think you'll get it. I think this is a good thing. I hope you get it, man. I think you will. If not, they're lost. But I think you got it. You got this, man. Tim K, best of luck on the new job. You got this. That's what I was saying too. You totally got this. Real quick, the Shoot Dog. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. And Quiet Mercenary. The Quiet Mercenary. I wonder if this is. Anyways, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. I was wondering if that's someone else. If this is Manny in his 4th or 5th account. HomeLab new. Performant is a word. It's just used to auto suggestions as I type it. And you got this piece of geek. It's technically not in the dictionary, so there's like all this debate on whether or not it is a word and whatever. So I'm just like, whatever. Like people say it, so I get it. But there's this huge debate, and I was like, oh, I hear it all the time. Some things weren't a word, 5 years ago, but they are now. So if you say it enough, it becomes a word. And I realized if you pronounce something enough one way, it just always gets pronounced that way. Diabetes Tech, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. Hello, how's it going? Geeky Ran, sorry I'm late. No, you're good. How's it going? PC Geek, thanks. I hope so. The company is a pharmaceutical analytics. Nice. That's what they do. IOPS. What are the services you're running in your home lab? Oh man, how much time you got? So a lot of them are covered in a video I have, but that doesn't matter. But a lot of them have changed over time, like most people's. I'll talk about, I guess, the bigger ones. So I'll just talk about my foundation and go from there. So I have 2 Proxmox servers. Actually, I have 3. But I have 2 Proxmox servers in a cluster. Actually, I have 4 now that I say it. One's just 100% for testing. 3 Proxmox servers, 2 1U servers, and 1 Intel NUC. And that's just there for a couple of reasons. I'll talk about that here in a second. But that's my hypervisor. And then within there, I run all my virtual machines. So I have some Windows virtual machines, and the rest are all Linux, some form or flavor, mostly Ubuntu. And then on a lot of those nodes, I'm running Kubernetes. I have 2 Kubernetes clusters. One is a dedicated cluster just for Rancher, because I run Rancher. And the rest are a Rancher provision cluster for all of my user workloads. So I have lots of services, all the services I talk about in my channel, lots of containers running in there, lots of web services, and then some services I don't really talk about in my channel. Like I have an app. I built an app and I host the API out of there, and I host a lot of services to keep this app up and going and online. That's all hosted in my home lab too. Then I have, I have plain old Docker servers that are just running Portainer. I think I have 4 of them, 4 or 5 of them. And that's basically one for each VLAN because I don't want that traffic going across the VLAN. I have firewall rules in place so that they don't. And the simplest thing for me, instead of writing tons of firewall rules and all these exceptions in my rule, was just to spin up one of those servers there to host that service. And does it need to be Docker? No, I could have just ran a plain old virtual machine, but I love containers, and there's no easier way for me to spin this up rather than install the service itself. So I think I have 4 or 5 Portainer servers. I could look at my services right now. I could probably show you and talk about all of them, and just a lot of other, I guess, random stuff. I have, some video processing that's usually always running, another stream that's usually always running, lots of random things. And so over the last, I guess, year and a half, you've seen this like evolution of my own home lab, a lot of the projects that I've been working on. I mean, I've talked about them a lot, but I guess it's almost time to revisit like what's running in my home lab. I keep thinking about it, but I want to make one more change before I do. But yeah, it's almost time to do a 2021, like what does my home lab look like, both physically and virtually, because it's changed. It's changed from, a year and a half ago. It's evolved quite a bit. But yeah, good question. Lots of stuff. And I have tons of bots too, I should say that. So I have the bot that's running in this channel on Twitch, the bot that's running in a couple of Discord servers. One is this, that most of you are in. Bots everywhere, bots that run to look at my YouTube stuff, to let people know when I have a new video or let me know. Bots that send information to my Raspberry Pi back there. I have a lot going on, but it's super fun. And a lot of the times I've tried to standardize on a lot of technologies that I use, and most of it is containers or Kubernetes, and that's what's made it a lot easier. And I write a lot of code too, so I have a ton of code that I write, and that's really what got me into containerization, was being able to make my code portable and run on different machines without the worry of trying to figure out how I install them, how they're hosted, how do the services restart, how do I ensure that they continue to run. And at the time, Docker was the easiest way to do that. And then later on, Kubernetes was the way to ensure that. So yeah, tons of stuff. Chubakawa, hello, how's it going? Let's see. Grid one. Hi, Tim. Please post a video on how to create your own container images from scratch, not from another Docker image, and modify settings full end-to-end from scratch. All right, yeah. Good question. I'm like thinking like, I know I've kind of done bits and pieces of that in other videos. Yeah, for sure. It's super easy. And I mean, this is going to be the quick answer for you right now. Like if you look at the repo I just created, you can look at my Docker file and see what I'm doing. And that is, that is how you build a Docker container. And I even have my whole entire GitHub workflow also in there. Because the project I built today was totally open source. You can see exactly what I did. But not from any other Docker image. That one's kind of tough, because a lot of the times you're going to inherit from some other Docker image. You're going to say, from Ubuntu or from Alpine or from something else. And that's basically saying, hey, give me, the dependencies from this operating system, and minimal ones possibly. So most of the time, in your container, even though you're adding 1 or 2 files, it might be based on a different image, which is usually an operating system, which gives you all the dependencies so it can run anywhere. And that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want to create my very own, version of Ubuntu myself. I want to say, Ubuntu's already figured this out. Just give me what they have and I'll layer on my layer. So anyways, I should do it sometime. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun, especially when you get it working in CI and you're pushing code to it and it automatically builds. It's so awesome. Mr. Imp, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. How's it going? Yeah. Well, thank you for the sub. I know you've been here and talking, but I appreciate it. Thank you. KRD Shark, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. But Girid, not Grid, Girid one. Yeah, great idea. I should do it. I'll see if there's some more interest in doing it. I've done it a ton myself, and maybe I've just, taken that for granted and figured people might not be interested in it, but you're asking. So thank you. Girid, thanks, PC Geek. Oh, yeah, highlight my message, 100 points. All right. Let's see. Takano, quick, someone go run to Techno Tim's and house and ring the doorbell so his dog barks. No, he will go crazy if the doorbell is the one thing he does not mess around with. That and when he hears like a UPS truck, the squealing brakes, or FedEx or any kind of delivery truck, when he hears those brakes, he knows. He's like, okay, there's a highly, there's a good chance that this person is going to come here and I'm going to bark at them like crazy. And then sometimes he gets so overwhelmed and he's so excited that if I try to move him, he starts biting me. So I'm like, oh, please don't. HomeLab New. It's funny how now some of the Kate's concepts are finally making sense to me now that I'm finally forced to work with them. Yeah. It takes a while. That's for sure. I mean, I still, I need a refresher every now and then because I don't do Kubernetes full time. I have it running in my infrastructure, and there are times when I need to troubleshoot stuff. Even just like last week, I had to troubleshoot something. It took me 4 hours before I realized it had nothing to do with Kubernetes, and it was something else. But yeah, it takes some time. Takano, I still can't decide a good point. I still can't decide on a good domain for my personal projects. Oh, you can do it. Also thinking of a domain for a game website, but no idea what I should go with. Yeah, it's tough. Google domain pickers or domain name namers, and not that you'll use any of those, but you'll come up with interesting ideas. Or a lot of places will suggest it too. If you're gonna buy one, and just type it in, and they'll say, hey, that one's taken. Here are some other options. And that might spark some ideas. I mean, I doubt they're going to suggest the one you pick. Maybe they will. But most likely it'll spark some ideas. But yeah, I'm terrible at naming stuff. I think most developers, I'm a developer, are terrible at naming things. I have to name things all day. Variables, classes, files, services, everything. It's hard naming stuff. It's one of the hardest things you do in programming is naming something. So naming a domain is just as hard. Same idea. Let's see. PC Geek, for LXC, it would have to be something you can install straight as if it was on a VM. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that then. I'll look at it though. I'll look at it because, I'll look at it. I'll see if there's an easy way to shim it into my build process. But I don't even know where they're published. I'd have to look at where they're published. I don't know. But yeah, good call. Abba Reaper, is there any benefit to multiple traffic instances for a server that has a few separate smallish containerized forms, or just one instance that binds to each of the public IPs? Is there any benefit? The only benefit I could see is if you want separation of concerns, like if you don't want, if you wanted one reverse proxy to handle some domains and one reverse proxy to handle the others. I mean, I can't see if they're all public facing, like why you would introduce that complexity, especially if they're all public facing and they're all hosted behind, if that, wherever your reverse proxy is, wherever traffic is, can already communicate with those containers, why to introduce that complexity? Because then you would need either two public IPs, or you would have to put another load balancer in front of that to say, hey, some of the traffic go this way, some go this way, or you need two IPs above there. So I don't know. I mean, for me personally, how many reverse proxies do I have in my environment? I think I have four or three. But it's for very specific reasons. Like I have an internal reverse proxy where, hey, here are some of the things I do internally that aren't exposed publicly, or I still want SSL and I want all my requests to go to that reverse proxy. That's a good use case for it, but it's totally separate from my other entire cluster. But then I have two reverse proxies, two versions of traffic, or instances, I should say, within Kubernetes. And that's again one is for the public, true public services. So they come in and go to that reverse proxy. And then I have one for my internal, and that's so I can get to services running within Kubernetes without going outside the firewall and back in. So I actually have two, but those are really different concerns. One's an internal load balancer and one's an external load balancer. If they're all public and they're all external, it's tough. I can't think of a use case right now. It could be headers, proxy, auth, something like that, but I can't think of one. The shoot dog, Network Chuck. No way. He said right now. Yeah. I think it was Network. Yeah, Network. I think it popped up in my feed today. It was like learn Python right now, and someone was talking about Python. Okay, yeah, go if you want to learn Python. It sounds like a great place to start because he has super duper high quality content. FIE, I totally agree. Help the internet, abandon IE code. I totally agree. I totally agree. The thing you run into though, what I've learned is that some enterprises are still on IE, and for whatever reason, they have these business applications that are critical to their business, and they don't have either the time or effort to migrate those or update those, or they're gonna migrate to some other service later on. So you have to use IE for this and Chrome for this and yada, yada, yada. And that really stinks. And then, sometimes I'm not making excuses. I'm saying how I see this thing manifest. And then sometimes when you do public services, you have the people, your customers who are at those enterprises who are forced to use IE now using your services or your product that's public facing, and it just sucks. I'm not gonna. You can't put it any other way. Some big company that is a potential customer runs IE internally, but accesses your services. And sometimes you just got to do it. You got to do the needful. It kind of sucks, but yeah, I'm not making excuses. I'm just explaining how it manifests itself, and it's all enterprise stuff. And for a good reason, or maybe not for a good reason, or resources or demands, or you name it. D Panesso, hey, resub, tier 1, 9 months. Thank you so much. Hey, how's it going? D Panesso, thank you so much. Abba Reaper, always love to start up Windows XP VM and access websites with IE6. Yeah, totally. Oh man, and watch nothing work. Or you get that prompt that basically says, go get Chrome or Firefox. Abba Reaper, whoops, legal was supposed to be legacy. Yeah. Brown Co Gamer, IE has one purpose, download Brave. Yeah, totally. The only purpose for IE is to just download something else, Keep web devs on the edge. Oh, I like it. I like where that's going. RTSP, thank you. Couldn't think of the acronym earlier. Skivian, I'm going with that. Techno Tim, do you have any other suggestions to share Chrome windows or other browsers? I mean, naming Chrome window like command line or anything like that. Wait, hold on. Do you have any suggestions to share Chrome windows or other browsers? I mean, naming Chrome window via command line or anything like that. I'm trying to understand what you're talking about here. This sounds interesting, and I'm sure I have some kind of solution or something I figured out, but I'm not sure what you're asking. Naming like Chrome window via command line. Oh, if you're talking about the title, I'm not going to guess. But I think are you talking about like the title window you see when you launch a browser? You can name that. You can do it from a terminal too. It's some flag you pass in when you launch it. You can do there's a whole bunch of command line arguments that most browsers support when you launch them via terminal, where you can name things. A lot of apps do that, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Let me know. Tim K, nodes. Okay, so when you said Proxmox clusters, I thought you meant like, hey, I got like 5 clusters, but you meant nodes. I gotcha. Mr. Rimp, got lucky. They were running fiber by my home, called them up and installed a drop yesterday, full gigabit up and down. You're faster than me. Still in shock from the 7.1. Crazy fast. Yeah, that is crazy fast. You totally got me beat. Bloodblight, Techno Tim, and recommendations for DISA Stig blends of Kube platforms. Ooh, I couldn't even tell you. Bloodlight. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know what the acronym means. I'm not going to pretend like I do. So let me know. Let me know what you're talking about, or what you're looking for, or what are your challenges with the current distributions of Kubernetes. How about that? Quiet Mercenary. No, I'm totally new here. Greetings from German there. All right. There's another someone who has Mercenary in their name and sometimes has multiple accounts to test things, and I wasn't sure. But hey, welcome from Germany. Wie geht's heute? Wie geht's heute? Wie ist das Wetter? I think that's wie geht's? Wie geht's heute? How are you today? And how is the weather? That's about all I know. Oh, liste listo? Is that read the list? I think. It's been so long since I've heard or spoke any German, but I did a little bit in middle school. That's what I remember. Wie geht's heute? Elder Spy, what is the script you are running on your Pi Zero to keep all the devices powered on? Yeah, this comes up every now and then. It's on my GitHub. Look on my GitHub. I have some Pi Awake on LAN script. If you need that, it's somewhere around here, but it's just Google Techno Tim GitHub. And in there, you'll see a Pi Awake on LAN script. That's exactly what I use. Some people, Quinn, I think he's in here, helped me improve that script to make it a little bit more robust, but it's there. It's there. The Shoot Dog, what are you using for your firewall? I feel like I'm getting socially hacked right now. No, UDM Pro. I talk about it pretty openly. I know it's super polarizing, but my edge or my appliance, it is a physical appliance now, is UDM Pro. It's fantastic. It's wife approved too, because we use the security system that's built in there, and we were just saying the other day, like it's so stable. There hasn't been one problem ever with our security system ever. Camera is super solid and super crisp and clear. Anyways, but I use it for, I use a lot of features in it. And hopefully they come out with a 2 sometime in the next 5 years, because I think I'll outgrow it once I add some more cameras. But yeah, that's what I'm using. HomeLab New. Wow, you host real production apps out there out of your home. Hopefully no complaints from the ISP. I don't know. Maybe. I've been doing that forever though. I've been self-hosting and home labbing for, I couldn't even tell you, 2004? I mean, some of you were probably not even born yet. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I've been hosting some form or fashion of something since I'd say about 2004, 2005, just for fun. And now if fun turns into, okay, can I do this for real? I have ideas, I build things, and then I built an app, and then I was like, I went back and forth. I went from AWS to Azure, didn't do GCP, back to AWS, and then at home, and I flip-flop between home and AWS a few times, and now I'm just like, I'm just gonna manage it at home in a separate network, separate cluster, separate everything, but. No complaints from the ISPs? No. No. I mean, we have a pretty awesome ISP there. They're hyper local, so they're only here in this area, and they do fiber along with wireless for the whole entire city, and they're so awesome. I mean, they would probably be like, go for it, because they have bigger fish to fry anyways. I mean, especially with the pandemic. I mean, how do they squeeze all this video that everyone's doing all day long, through their existing network? So me hosting out, a couple web APIs for some apps, they're probably like, I wish more people did that instead of streaming YouTube and Twitch all day. But no, they're super awesome. It might be against their policy. I'll have to look. But it's funny. I was just thinking about that the other day, how they used to have these business plans, because businesses have, different types of demands and different types of, businesses basically in the past, to get a business line for your ISP, they basically said that businesses have more demands than consumers, and they might use more bandwidth. That is not true today. That is absolutely not true, and it's the exact opposite, I think. You have, all these people streaming YouTube, Twitch, playing games, downloading 40 gigabytes of an Apex, update at home. Like, it is not true anymore. So I honestly don't even know why a business line would exist anymore for an ISP or a business plan, maybe because some additional support or more availability. But anyways, I'm sure I should probably check with my ISP. There's probably something in there. I hope they're not watching. But again, I transfer megabytes maybe, a day. Oh, it's a web API. It's all JSON, and it's, highly compressed. So, hey, real quick, call me Vias. Vias, hey, thanks for the Prime sub. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yay for Dev. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. But yeah, anyways, my ISP is super awesome. So anyways, I think I think they could care less. There might be a policy I should probably check, but whatever. Whatever. Anyways, HomeLab new, or wait, I'm guessing you put it through Cloudflare or something to mask your home IP and have outgoing connection from your house to Cloudflare. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cloudflare. Absolutely, yes, I do. So I use their web application firewall. I do that too. But they could still see that incoming port 443 happening from somewhere because that gets terminated to them. So they'll still see that traffic, but I mean, if you think about, even if I had thousands of users, I burn up more bandwidth in this Twitch stream in 1 hour than I probably do for my whole entire app for a month. Even if I do have thousands of users, but it's all compressed. It's all compressed and it's JSON and it's over the web. It's super tiny. So, but yeah, it's a good point. I do use Cloudflare for almost everything. I'm a huge fan. Elder Spy, I want to run the same script that you're running. Yeah, you absolutely can. It's in my GitHub. Burning Candle, Techno Tim, I found a Docker that says needs 4 CPU and 64 gigs of RAM and 150 gig hard drives. Is it possible to spread this over one instance of multiple agents, or do you need a single agent that matches the needs? You need one. I mean, I haven't found a way to spread the load of a Docker image over anything, because it's when it instantiates, it's going to be kind of bound to that host that it's on. If it really requires that, it's one. It's an interesting concept though. I mean, underneath that, your hard drives can be abstracted, and even your bare metal machines could be abstracted from it. But at the end of the day, when it stands up, if it says it needs 4 CPUs, it's going to say, give me 4 CPUs. If it's going to allocate 64 gigs of RAM, it's going to say, give me 64 gigs of RAM, and it's going to say the same thing for the hard drive. I've never used a container that actually said that. And maybe that's just their recommendations for this process that's running in there. But if it's really doing a request for that, then I don't know of a way to spread that across multiple things. A HomeLab new Burning Candle, you could definitely put together storage on another machine access via NFS. But is that a set of containers or a single container that has that requirement? Yeah, again, you can abstract anything underneath it, but you can't say, hey, grab 2 cores from this other virtual machine and 2 cores from this other virtual machine. If there's some abstraction layer on top of that, you could, but you're back in the same problem where it's still going to request that, or the challenge. Tim K4. Just rebuilt the K3S servers 3 while listening back to the base installations. Now try Rancher, install once more. Fun stuff. Yeah, K3S is super fun. I've been having a pretty okay time with Rancher and K3S and Traffic. It's a pretty good combo for me. I'll throw in I'll be there too, because those 4 technologies together has made my HomeLab and my Kubernetes cluster like super duper solid. But then also brittle at times when I start experimenting. Mr. Rimp, Abba Reaper, yeah, buddy. 4 years on DSL. All right, yeah, totally upgraded. You're faster. You have faster internet than I do now. Let's see, single container. Elder Spy. Hi Tim. What? Hey, it's in my thing. And again, it's in my thing. And again, it's in my thing. Oh man. Yeah. Or ask me somewhere else instead of 5 times on Twitch. How about that? KR Shark. Sorry if I skipped you. Love your vids. Thank you for the great info. No problem. Abba Reaper. Let's see. Half the dev work is naming. I totally agree. Yeah. What are the 3? What do they say? The biggest challenges or problems you find in programming in general is what? Off by 1 errors, caching, and then naming things. Those are the 3 hardest things to do in programming. Off by 1 errors, caching, and naming things. Caching, you can get burned on there too, but naming is too. You should see the names of some of my variables. It's there. Sometimes I'm not joking. They can get into 30, 40 characters because I'm, when you start chaining stuff on, you're just like, I want to be so precise on this variable, and your variable's like this long, and you're like, oh. Takano, fun fact, my username came from one of those. Takano originates from Tech Nano. I like it. Small tech, because working on microcontrollers, but Tech Nano was taken on 80% of the services. I like it. I like the history. Tim K. Tim, I am seeing this on the build error. Internal error occurred, failed calling webhook. Yeah, so Tim, this I know this. I think this is what I talked about a little bit earlier. When you're installing Rancher, there's a step before you run. I think Cert Manager that says, "Hey, wait until this service is fully running, and here's how to check to make sure it's running." If you're just copying and pasting and running and executing it, your infrastructure might not be caught up in time. So you might have to back out that last change you just did, query the service to make sure it's up and running, and then run that again. Let's see. Oh man, I'm going over today. So much fun. Elder Spy. Does anyone else know? Oh my gosh, Elder Spy. All right, buddy. We already answered that like 15 times. Burning Candle. I need to learn some skills on S4 HANA. Oh, so this Docker would be very helpful, but after I'm running a Dell 3 R210, I have no hardware matches and specs. Yeah, HANA, that's going to take some resources for sure. I keep calling you Abba Reaper, but is it a bear aper? I'm going to go with Abba Reaper. I like it. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I can't seem to justify the extra effort / future maintenance. Definitely try to move more to what you described, separated internal and external instances, and leave it at that. Thank you for the input. Yeah, Abba Reaper, no problem. I would say keep it simple. It's simple until simple doesn't work anymore. I know when you start planning stuff out, it's really easy to say, okay, this is going to do this. This is how this is going to work. And it's good to think ahead and design stuff, basically doing architecture ahead of time. But that gets me in a jam sometimes when I scale really wide and I'm like, okay, like my VLANs, I think I had 10 VLANs when I first started planning out my network. And I'm like, do I really need 10? That's a ton of maintenance. And I even questioned whether or not I needed two instances of traffic within my Kubernetes cluster, but I ended up needing it. I told myself I'm not going to do a second one until I really need it. And I ended up needing it to just basically have an internal way to get to those services internally on my network and not have to do NAT reflection or go back out through the firewall and come in through the other firewall. So anyways, yeah, let me know. I've done like I said, I have four reverse proxies running in my infrastructure. So I have a little bit of experience, but every situation's unique. Let's see, PC Geek, my work now uses i11. Upgraded. See, I told you, it's enterprises, and you can't do much about it because those enterprises end up buying services from other companies. And if they're working on their work machine and trying to access your services, now you end up supporting i11, and this is how it happens. So happens a lot. IOFault, U.S. Patent Office still requires i11 for some of their workflows. I totally agree. Yeah, government, I should have said too. Yeah, government, enterprises, healthcare, anything like that. Like, you get applications that were built and supported by, other software companies, and they still have to be in service and work. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. This is how we support i11 forever. HomeLab New. The reason is Microsoft has better lobbyists than software engineers. Yeah, that too. Let's see. Burning Crusade. HomeLab New. It's something I do for now on my own and don't want the company to know. Nice. IOPS. What do you use your Intel NUC for? Thanks. I didn't even explain that. So the Intel NUC, I kind of explained it. I have explained it other times. I didn't. I skipped right over it. The Intel NUC really is my third Proxmox node in my cluster. I only had two. I don't do HAVMs, but I do some shared things. I can migrate servers all around. But my third Proxmox node is just there, one for Quorum and two for... So the way I have it designed is, I have three Proxmox nodes, and then I have multiple Kubernetes clusters, and all of those Kubernetes clusters have servers or masters in their cluster, and so I have to spread those out across everything. So my one Intel NUC ends up being Quorum for my Kubernetes clusters and Quorum for my Proxmox cluster, and it's super low powered. It's only running, I think, 2 or 3 VMs. And it's totally taxed. It's like maxed out. But it's an old Intel NUC with a 4-core Core i5 and only 16 gigs of RAM, and I think a 256 gig hard drive. But it's like just enough to run those 3 VMs for Quorum for all of my stuff. So And that was for a long time. That was just like, it used to be my media center for Windows way back. Like I've had this thing forever. That was actually one of the first videos I ever did on tech how to was, hey, I'm going to convert my media center to this Intel NUC. I mean, this was way back. And I still have it around. And I didn't think Proxmox was going to run on it. And then I was like, oh, when I bought this, I remember this supported virtualization because I run, what did I run? VirtualBox on it before. And it wasn't using software emulation. It was using, virtualization. Even though it's a different type hypervisor, it didn't have to depend on software because it had VT-D or X. And anyways, it supported virtualization. And then one day I was like, hey, I could use this for Proxmox. I spun it up on there and it's been working fantastic ever since. And so anyways, I put basically the Quorum node for Proxmox and for 2 Kubernetes clusters on there. And at one point I was considering putting my other DNS on there so that if my big servers are shut down, I still have DNS, but it's just not strong enough to do that. It needs a little bit more muscle, I guess you should say. I'm really CPU bound at some point, and disk size too. Bloodlight, Techno Tim, DISA, STIG are security standards for rules often required by larger organizations. Nice. SE Linux, auditing settings, volume mount, security, account restrictions, and so on and so forth. Many requirements, and getting Kubernetes to work has been difficult to say the least. Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of companies that have to abide by those same rules are using Kubernetes. Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I think someone posted in Discord the other day an NSA hardening guide on hardening Kubernetes released by the NSA. It's pretty thick document. But anyways, it doesn't really apply to the security standards. But there are huge companies and organizations, and even the U.S. government using Kubernetes. So I'm curious what you're looking for that wouldn't fit to a public or a private organization if the government themselves or other organizations are running Kubernetes. Curious. I mean, are you talking about like a different type of distribution or tools, or let me know. Defense Information Agency, STIG, Security Technical Implementation Guide. Okay, got it. I like it. What I was just saying, the NSA released a Kubernetes hardening guide, so I have yet to break that apart. Okay, guys, I'm going way over today because I'm having so much fun. Oh, that's a bright pink. That is so bright. That's how my video was today. I'm going to look for mentions directly, and I'm going to answer those real quick. Burning Candle, maybe you can build something that reads your Twitch chat via API and adds timestamps so everyone could see how many minutes you're behind in chat. Yeah, I know. I get to it. See, I get caught up though. The thing is, like, it's a slow build up and then I get caught up because I just said, like, hey, I'm going to zoom to the end, and I'm to the end. So, no, I know. I want to get to everyone's messages. I could probably count on one hand where I didn't get to the end of chat as I did today. But anyways, so since I am to the end of chat and we are a little bit over, thank you guys so much for joining today. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your questions. I've learned what STIG was today and DISA was today. I learned quite a bit and also got inspired by a couple of things and a few things I need to look into. I promise answers to a few people. If you have more questions or you want to connect with me or have a question you didn't really want to answer in chat, feel free to ping me in Discord or on Twitter or anywhere in a video, anywhere. I usually get back I think in a relatively decent amount of time. Ping me anywhere. I'd love to have a conversation or love to help you out if I can. If you have an urge to chat more with other people who are in the stream, you're absolutely welcome to join our Discord server. Many of you are in here. A lot of names I recognize in here. There are some names I don't recognize. No pressure, but you can absolutely join our Discord server. There it is. Thank you so much. We have a Discord server full of lots of people from all different walks of life all over the planet who are very technical to not so technical. It's totally fine. But we have a Discord server there where people talk and chat about all different kinds of things. So I encourage you to join. And if not, hey, maybe next time. It's totally fine. I will be back next Saturday. Absolutely. Next Saturday. And might have something again out this week. So I appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the weather wherever you are. It's been pretty nice here in the Midwest, so I'm going to enjoy it. But if you have any questions, ping me. If not, have a great rest of the weekend and be good to each other. Take care, folks.